Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. This is still a pretty new channel, so it really helps. The latest wave of DC Multiverse figures from McFarlane Toys is hitting shelves, and I was able to get a hold of the new DC Rebirth Bizarro. Up until this point, I've been using the infected version of Superman as a stand-in for the character, and in spite of that new, very Bizarro head sculpt, I did have some reservations. Mainly that it's the Rebirth rather than the classic design. Will I like it as much? Will I like it better? Will I be able to combine parts to create the best of both worlds? Only one way to find out. Let's take them over to the review station and dig in. Starting off with the packaging, and this is a DC Multiverse box, so we know what to expect. Here's the front. Here's one side, here's the other, here's the top, here's the barcode for those of you who care about such things, and here's the back. And yikes, I am glad the figure doesn't actually look like that. If you've seen one DC Multiverse box, you've seen them all, so not much more to say. For packaging, I'm giving Bizarro 1 whole point. Moving on to presentation, and Bizarro stands at 7 inches. For the most part, this is a repaint of Superman the Infected, but credit where credit's due, there are definitely a few new pieces. The head, for example, is new. The cape is also new. The emblem is new, and so are the underpants. From the top, this is an impressive head sculpt. There are things I like, and there are also things I don't. For the most part, I do like the face structure. Kind of reminds me of the Grey Hulk. And the shadows are painted with a kind of dull olive, which is an interesting choice. I'm also not really a fan of this kind of weird tuft of hair up top. I know that Bizarro is supposed to be kind of like a Frankenstein monster version of Superman, but this just seems kind of a touch on the nose. Another strange thing you'll notice is that the gray of his head does not match the gray of his neck. His head's a bit more of a warm gray, whereas his neck is a bit cooler. Another thing you'll notice is that even though his face is nicely shaded, there is no paint detailing on his neck, so it really doesn't match. Moving on down, like I said, this is an all-new cape sculpt, and it does look really nice. The tatters are all done really well, and McFarlane's texture game, as always, is on point. The backwards S for Bizarro was sculpted very nicely. Unfortunately, the paint job is a bit sloppy, and this diaper piece is also sculpted fine. But again, the paint job is a bit sloppy. Even though the grays don't match, the muted reds and blues all come together for a really nice palette. Minor nitpicks aside, this is still a very nice figure. It's sculpted well and is a great use of the Superman infected buck, but the sloppy, inconsistent paint is going to cost it. For presentation, I'm giving Bizarro half a point. Moving on to posability, and there's some fantastic articulation in Bizarro's head. Typical dumbbell joint, but has a lot of range. He can look up this much, all the way down, tilt, tilt, and all the way around. Arm up that high. McFarlane's patented butterfly rotator cup dealy-do. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and typical McFarlane wrists. Diaphragm joint, and then of course also tilt and twisting in the waist. He can hunch over this much and arch back that much. And taking advantage of that articulation, you can get him into some fantastic flight poses. Also, I don't mean to pry into Bizarro's love life, but it looks like he's taking a trip to Splitsville. Fair amount of rotation, double jointed knees, typical McFarlane ankles, and toe-ticulation. All the articulation you need and then some. For posability, I'm giving Bizarro 1 whole point. Moving on to playability, and I hope you don't mind, I'm going to skip the display stand and trading card. Bizarro does, however, come with these extra hands. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. Here he is with my only other Superman villains. On this side we have the Mattel Collect and Connect Super Luthor, and over here we have the Warhammer 40,000 Necron Warrior. I've been using that as a stand-in for Metallo. And here he is alongside Superman the Infected. Despite the fact that they both share most of the same body, it's amazing to me just how distinct these two figures look from each other. Honestly, I feel like if you just combine these two figures, you'd have the perfect Bizarro. and here you go. If you wanted to sacrifice your Superman the Infected, it would not be hard to make this work. And if you're curious, this Bizarro #1 medallion came from the Walgreens exclusive Mattel Bizarro. And if you're curious, here's a side-by-side comparison of the two. Honestly, I don't really think that this Bizarro would work too well with the DC Multiverse, but he's not too bad for DC Essentials. Would definitely need a better cape, though. On the subject of the Man of Steel, I do think that the DC Essentials might be just a little bit too runty for the McFarlane, but let's be honest, this isn't the Superman that he was made for. This is, and I think they look great together. Don't get me wrong, the Action Comics 1000 Superman isn't perfect, but I think that he's a fantastic Superman, and I do think the Bizarro being a little bit bigger and bulkier goes really well together. One thing you might notice is that even though these are two different bodies, they share the same underpants. And that sounds a lot grosser than I meant it. The point being, if you can mix and match these, then you could probably put these on him to give us a Rebirth Superman. If you're curious what a Rebirth Superman might look like on this buck, well, here you go. And for something a little bit more similar to classic Superman, to be honest, this might be onto something. What do you think? Could this be the best Superman McFarlane could give us? Sound off in the comments. Personally, I would have rather had a more classic looking Bizarro, but having just gotten Superman the Infected, it might just be too soon for that. The only drawback to this version is that we don't have a Rebirth Superman, but we'll probably get there eventually. And wouldn't you know it, but while I was editing this video, there was some leaks that confirmed that DC Rebirth Superman is in fact on the way. So for playability, I'm giving Bizarro 1 whole point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Bizarro is a single pack release, so he's only about 20 bucks. Considering that Superman the Infected was a little bit more expensive because of the Build-A-Piece, I really appreciate that. Is he the ultimate Bizarro? Well, no, but he's a great stop along the way. He might not be #1, but for price, I'm giving this Bizarro 1 whole point for a grand total of 4.5 out of 5. I hope you enjoyed this look at the McFarlane Toys DC Rebirth Bizarro. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, have fun.